Okay, we're on the last step. The last thing that we're going to do is change the footer. So the footer is that black box across the bottom of the page. And it has information about your site, has your name, it has a copyright date, and it has the text powered by WordPress, designed by WooThemes. I'm going to show you how to change the footer, and I want to show you this because I want you to get a sense of how WordPress works and how, if you knew a little bit of programming, you could do a lot to these sites. So you're not going to have to do any programming in this class. Everything you're going to do with WordPress, you're going to do with the tools that you just saw. The page maker, the post maker, the sidebar widget area. You're going to use those in this class, but I want you to sort of see behind the curtain a little bit of how these sites are working. So we're going to practice that, or sort of get a view of that, by changing the footer. So let's talk about the main sections of a WordPress site. Every WordPress site is sort of broken down into some main elements. You have what's called the header, which is always at the top, like a head. Inside the header is your navigation bar or menu. Underneath that, you almost always have a slider, which is sometimes also called a carousel. Underneath that, you have various homepage sections, and every theme has different sections. This theme has sections called mini features and portfolio. Other themes will have other sections. Every theme also has the sidebar, which is controlled by the widgets editor we just looked at. And then at the bottom of every WordPress site is what's called the footer. So the way this works is WordPress has code that's making all of these things. So it has code to make the header. It has code to make the slider. It has code to make the sidebar. It has code to make the footer. Don't follow along just yet. I'm going to show you a little bit of the back end of WordPress, how this all works. So if I go to if I go to Appearance and I click Editor, I can actually see all of the code that makes this site work. So you'll see here's a piece of code called comments. That's what makes the comment system work. Here's a piece of code called footer. That makes the footer work. Here's a piece of code called header, or I guess a file of code called header. That makes the header work. Here's one called sidebar, and of course that makes the sidebar work. So I can get in here and I can change almost anything I want about my site just by looking at the code. So I can look at the header code. Let's see, where did header go? I just saw you in here. Header, there it is. I can click on it, and there's all the code that makes my header appear. Now I do want you to follow along for this. I want you to go to Appearance, Editor, and then click on Footer. And all of this is going to look like a bunch of nonsense. But what this is doing is making this footer appear. And what I want to do is change the word designed by WooThemes to theme by WooThemes. So we're going to come into here, we're going to put our cursor in this big chunk of code, and we're going to press Command F on a Mac or Control F on a PC, and we're going to look for the word designed. And you'll see it's highlighted right here. We're going to change this word designed to theme, and then we're going to update the file. Okay, if I go to my site and I refresh, you'll see it now says theme by WooThemes. So you just changed some of the code for this site. And I just wanted you to see this because I wanted you to see how powerful WordPress can be. If you understood HTML, which is the code you're looking at here, you could do a lot with the site. You could change almost anything that you want. But since we don't all know HTML, we can't change everything. So as you create your client site, keep that in mind. There may be things that you want to change that you can't because you would have to change it here, and we're not going to learn this. So this is sort of a really powerful tool for WordPress that allows WordPress to be highly customizable, which is what helps WordPress be so popular. About 20% of the top million sites in the world use WordPress, and it's because it's so simple to use for people like us who don't really know code, and it's also powerful for people who do know code. People who do know code can get in here and change almost anything they want. It would just sort of become their playground. Okay, that's everything I wanted to show you. That concludes the WordPress tutorial. If you have made it this far, you are awesome and you should feel really proud because you have a nice portfolio site. After you turn this in and I give you a grade, you can change this however you want. So real quick, I just want to show you a couple examples. This is the portfolio that a former student, Samantha Ashworth, put together. So she completed the WordPress tutorial and it looked exactly like the example. And then after the class, after she received a grade, she went in and she made some changes. So you can see she put her own nice logo up here. She changed some of the pages. She got rid of the blog. She took the slide down and made 3 mini features instead of 4. She took the sidebar off the front page and she added testimonials. So this is a nice little site that she has put together based on the tutorial, but it's very personalized. This is very personal to Samantha. It's got colors that sort of reflect her vibrant personality. It's got this nice logo that reflect her excellent design skills, and all of the portfolio items reflect the kind of work that she does. So you can see that she works a lot with sports organizations because all of these logos are pretty much sports centric. So even the Olympic infographic is sports centered. So you get a real sense of who she is and what she can do based on just a few changes she made to this WordPress tutorial. Here is another tutorial. Alexandra Gum, another former student, put this together, and again, you can see its similarities with the WordPress tutorial, but it's quite different. She has put a logo up that is more personal to her. She's put her photo in the slider instead of the little gray example, and she's changed some of the typefaces. She has more portfolio items on the front page than the tutorial did. So I just wanted to show you these examples. Oh, and she has red bars around everything so that you can see how much you can really do with this tutorial. The tutorial got you started with a nice portfolio site, but it's kind of boring and it doesn't really speak to you as a person. So I hope Samantha and Alexandra's redesigns of the site will show you how you can use the portfolio in the future and give you some inspiration for personalizing it a little bit more.